Hello, welcome to Finishing Touch. My name is Riley James. This is a very special episode of the State Soccer Network. We have our first woman on the show. Now, it's not for lack of trying. We've had bad luck with the NWSL, we've had bad luck with some college teams. But today, we finally broke through, and with a remarkable woman at that. She is not only a senior midfielder for the University of Nebraska-Omaha Mavericks, but she is an advocate for women in television, and she is an advocate for women in sports. Thank you so much for making time today, Miss Avarie Howard.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is take 3 of trying to do this.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
We've had some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear you for a little bit, but I think we got it figured out. Hopefully,
Okay.
at the very least.
So. But yes, with that being said, thank
Um,
you so much for thinking of me. I'm super happy to be able to talk some soccer and talk with you guys today.
Absolutely, you can thank Anna Bellinghausen for kind of expediting this process. Always down to mention her on any show that I do. She's been on my podcast several times, including episode 50. What a special one that was. But I want to talk about you. You are not only a college soccer player, but like I said, you are an advocate for women in sports and women in broadcasting. You have a women in media club at UNO, promoting the fact that women can talk about sports, which I think is incredibly important. And before we get into all the soccer stuff, I want to talk about what you guys do at UNO. Can you explain the club?
Yeah, absolutely. So my sophomore year, right before COVID, I did my first ever sports show because I crossed paths with Anna Bellinghausen, which I knew previously that she had been involved with Mag Radio. And I didn't really know how to kind of get that in to figure out how or where I could talk sports. I've never really done it before, but I knew it's something I wanted to do. And I knew Anna was probably the only girl that was doing so. So I shared a radio class with her my sophomore year, and she knew that I wanted to talk sports. And so she invited me to their first morning show on Fridays, like on a Wednesday. And she was like, you can come shadow, you can come see what it's like, just see, what the TV studio, how everything works. And I was like, okay, cool. So like later that day on a Wednesday, our shows are on Friday. She was like, hey, we're going to introduce track to the show. Do you want to do a track show and write a script for us? And I was like, never written a sports script before. I don't know track, but I was like, sure, I'll figure it out. And she kind of sent me a template of what hers looks like every week a little bit. And we did it and it went great. And I think very quickly we realized that we needed more than just 2 minutes on a Friday talking track or just, whatever sport it was that week. We needed to do something more. So obviously COVID hits. And I remember I was driving home from school and Anna and I were on the phone. We're like, we need to make this happen. Like, let's use this time to figure out what we want to do to make sure more women can be incorporated on the camera, talking sports or whatever that might be. Because I think we knew very quickly we had some potential there because we had already 2 girls that wanted to talk sports. We were like, imagine what would happen if we could expand that and find who else is interested in this. So over the summer, Anna and a volleyball player at Omaha, Alexa Blaze, who's one of the founders of our club as well now, talked to Anna and she was like, hey, I want to be in sports broadcasting, like reporting the whole deal. I know you and Avery have kind of dabbled in it. Like, how can I get involved? And Anna was like, perfect. We've got 3 girls here. Let's get this thing going. So we figured out how to get a sponsor, how to get a club running through the university. And we create our own show called By the Horns, which we do most Fridays. It's been a little difficult with my season and Alexa's, but we shoot for most Fridays, Production Friday. And we talk sports. We talk whatever we want that week, and we absolutely love it. But our club in general is just kind of an advocate. We advocate for women that want to be in journalism and broadcasting, behind the camera, on camera, podcasting, taking pictures, all that stuff. So we just want to make a club that is a safe space for everyone to be able to share what they love to do, what they're passionate about, because right now we're the only girls that really do love sports. So that's what we're making this platform for, because it's given us so many opportunities to talk sports, to meet people. We've had guests over Zoom, which we open up to all of our members. We've talked to Mina Kimes, we've talked to Laura Rutledge, Lauren Sisler, Chris Budden, some awesome women in the industry. So to talk to them and hear their stories, and then, directly to us girls has been wonderful. It's been so enlightening and so helpful. But once again, it's open to all of our members because we want them to be passionate about what they want to do in broadcasting and journalism. So it really is just a safe space for them to showcase what they're interested in. And we just kind of so happen to be the 3 founders that are interested in sports.
That was fantastic answer. I mean, I know Anna. I've worked with Anna a lot. She has been championing this for a long time, and she's been on the forefront of getting people involved in sports broadcasting that otherwise wouldn't have a door in.
Yeah.
And I haven't met you yet. You and I think, I put a by the horns on my
Mhm.
Instagram story, and
Yeah.
you love that. And I think we
Yeah.
had some interaction there. But this is for all intents and purposes, this is our
Mhm.
first time interacting,
Yeah.
and to meet the people on the other side of that. Other than Anna, it's really awesome. What you guys do is super important, and I couldn't be more grateful for people like you, because it's easy for someone like me to get a job in this industry. I'm a man. I I presumably know a lot about sports because I am a man,
Right.
as opposed to you guys have had to fight and scrap.
Mhm.
And I think it's super important that you get that platform and have that opportunity to show that you're probably better at this than I am. And it's really awesome to see. Also, side note on that, Alexa Blaze is one of the best television names of all time. I hope
I
she makes it. I
know, Alexa
really hope
Bliss.
she makes
I
it.
know. I know. We love that. Alexa Bliss.
But behind the curtain, behind the scenes here, we made it through a whole question without audio trouble, which is awesome. So I will
Sweet.
proceed to my soccer questions.
Perfect.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be an owner of a social media network? We have a very unique opportunity where we build you a turnkey social media website that is specific to a theme or niche that you are passionate about. Upon signing up, you'll become a part of our Social Titan community, which is made up of social network owners just like you. You can then share ideas and strategies on how to grow your user base and get more traffic to your website. But how will you make money? Once you have the traffic on your website, all you have to do is sell advertising to companies in your niche. Just 3 months ago, we launched a social network for soccer, and now that same website has over 60,000 visitors each month. That soccer website is also generating monthly income on advertising from soccer-based businesses. It's really that simple. Join our Facebook group today to learn how you can become a social titan.
So recruitment process. Obviously, we are targeting 13 to 17-year-old folks out there who are trying to play high school soccer and trying to play college soccer. You were recruited to play at UNO.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that process coming from Overland Park, Kansas?
Yes. So I played for Sporting Blue Valley here in Kansas City. We played in ECNL, which that league basically is your conference as you travel to play basic games. So on a weekend, you might go to Milwaukee, you might go to Detroit, St. Louis. You do showcases in Phoenix, San Diego. There's many more. I can't think. Dallas. So you're getting a lot of looks a lot of the time, which can be a little stressful, but I absolutely loved the opportunity. Sporting gave us that opportunity to be in ECNL, and I absolutely loved it. It made the recruiting process much easier than having to stay here in Kansas City all the time and play the same opponents, and virtually have to reach out to everyone to make their way to Kansas. So having those games in other states all the time, every weekend against the best of the best was made my recruiting process much easier. I know there's multiple leagues now with DA and GA and ECNL and all the things, so there's a lot of opportunities out there. But for me, the recruiting process starts really early, and I know they change recruiting rules, so a lot of that communication can't start until I think it's June 1 for girls going into their junior year. But my freshman year, we were in Seattle for a showcase, and all of a sudden we saw, like after that, my freshman year, a lot more recruits lining our field. And it was a very big wake up call a little bit, like, okay, it's starting, like this is really happening. So you kind of have to turn it on a little bit and get serious about, the sport you love, and think, just for fun, but it gets pretty serious. But I think if you're in it for the competition and you want to go play collegiately, like it's kind of what you're there for. It's the best experience to see those lists of names after a game or see who was wearing what on your sideline. But before a showcase, you'd send out 5 to 10 emails, 10 to 15 emails as you got older. Just let people know, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And like I said, ECNL was great because all those coaches were already invited. So it made my job a lot easier. But I will say at the beginning is kind of hard because you're like, how big do I shoot? what's my range of where do I want to go? Like, I mean, you got the North Carolinas of the world that, it's your dream since you're little. You've got your dream school from where you live, all kinds of things. So you're kind of all over the place. But I think once you get that first interest, you kind of get an idea of like maybe where you sit, or, okay, like the process works, like all my hard work, someone noticed me, and all of a sudden it kind of starts to go, in that direction. But the communication process is obviously very important, making sure your coach, your club coach is on the same page as you, knowing what you want, who you want to talk to, because they're your middleman for a while. But I know some of my teammates freshman year were committing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just figuring out the high school world. Like, how am I supposed to figure out what a college atmosphere, college soccer even looks like? So that was a little intimidating, but I knew for me personally, I want to make sure I made the right decision, looking enough places. And I thought originally, I'm like, I want to go big. I want to go out of here. Like, I'm going to go far away. I want to have my college experience. And as I got closer to the end of my junior year, I kind of stopped going on visits. I wanted to just kind of sit in where I had visited. I wanted to think about the places I'd been, and just kind of let it come to me and think about some things instead of kind of overwhelming myself. So over that summer, I kind of just took the pros and cons of the places I'd been, the visits I'd been on. And it's funny because Omaha was my very first visit when I was a sophomore, and I was recruited by a different coach than I played for now. But my dad was like, just go visit. It's your first one. We're going to see all of them. And I was like, okay, I'll go, but I don't want to go to Omaha. I had family there. I'd been there 1,000 times. Like, I was something new. I don't want to go to Omaha. I just don't have any interest. I went. I was pleasantly surprised. I loved the hockey atmosphere. Went to a sold-out game against North Dakota. It was wonderful. Loved the facilities. And at the end of my year, junior year, end of my summer, going to my junior year, I was like, I think I want to go to Omaha. I think that's the place that I want to go. So yeah, I took all summer to kind of just like think about what felt right. And ultimately Omaha felt right at the end of the summer to me.
And there's such an interesting thing from going to high school where you're a star. I mean, you're going to play D1 college soccer. You're a star in high school. You had to be thrust into a freshman role where you're not starting every game, and you're not involved in the team as much as you like, and maybe as much as you think you should be. How difficult was it to go from being a star in the high school field to accepting this role where you're getting minutes and you're getting playing time, but it's not necessarily as much, or you're not starting games? How did you accept that, and how do you kind of roll with those punches?
No, I'm really glad you asked this, because I think this is something that now that I'm done with my soccer career, I've played for 4 years. If there's one thing that I feel like I wish I could tell my younger self, or anybody about to like go into the D1, D2, D3 soccer world, is really to embrace your role, whatever that might be when you're there. That doesn't mean be comfortable or accept it, but embrace it for what it is and be the best version of that you can be, because eventually it's going to pay off to get you more and more minutes. Even if that means you're being a starter your freshman year. I've never met anyone that's had a perfect career in any college athletics, no matter the sport. There's going to be times where you either get hurt or you're pulled out of the lineup, or someone's playing better than you that time, or whatnot. So embrace the role that you've been given. If you're playing minutes your freshman year, then I would say, there's a lot of kids that don't see the fields for their junior year. So take it for what it's worth. Keep working hard. But for me, I mean, not to boast on but like you, when you come out of high school, you are the name at your high school, and you get to college and you're like, oh, everyone is that at their high school. Like, everybody was, the face of their high school team. Like, you're no longer just that star at your high school. You're just like everybody else that's on a very even playing field when you walk in day one. So, I've told a lot of my younger friends that are going into the college world playing soccer, I was like, hey, you've grown up in a community where soccer is attached to your name. It's Avarie Howard, soccer player. Everybody knows who you are in your community because you're that soccer player. And when you get to your next town, nobody knows that. They don't care, quite frankly, until you prove yourself. And you're not going to get privilege or anything because you've always been on the top team in your club team. So that's something that I think is a great opportunity, and it can also be hard to deal with, but you get a fresh start. So you get to impress all the new people. You get to meet all the new people, whether those be your donors, your, faithful fans, the people within your department, and I think you're on the fields for such a small time in your career that you kind of have to embrace the entire journey. So if that means you're frustrated with your time and whatnot, like I said, embrace those minutes you're getting, but really truly enjoy the journey and all the privileges that come with being a college athlete. That would be something that I wish I could tell my younger self. And it took me a few years to figure out, but that would be my first piece of advice to anybody that's going from a high school career to a Division I college soccer career.
Well, my advice question at the end of the show, so I'm glad you got there quickly.
I could have more, I promise.
No, that's quite all right. I want to talk about something positive. I want to talk about something good. I want to talk about a great moment from your college career. You scoring a goal. And I have it here via the internet that you scored against Kansas City. Is that right?
Yeah, it was in KC.
You are from the Kansas City area.
Mm-hmm.
How awesome was that to score against a university I'm sure you're familiar with?
Yeah.
And what was that like? What was that whole process?
Okay, well, crazy story actually. So we were at UMKC last year, and I had so many friends and family, which was so cool. UMKC was new to the Summit League, so the fact that I was able to get like a game in Kansas City, where instead of like before I'd be like, hey, my friends, family, come to Omaha and watch a game, or the closest I'll be is K-State or KU. So to have a game there in UMKC was amazing, and I had this shot that I thought was going to win the game. Goalie made insane save. Like I was like, oh my God, I would have scored at home against UMKC. All my friends and family were there. It was going to be, I was like, oh, it was like one of those like career moments where you're like, that's one of the best shots I've ever had. Like, oh my gosh. So a year later, we played UMKC at home and I score against them. I'm like, what is it about Kansas City that is like, I don't know. But no, that moment was huge for me. We just talked on it. Like I had to adjust to having a different role in the team. And so I was used to scoring goals in high school and I was up top all the time, and we played a different formation out at Omaha and, getting up and down and figuring out how to work in the offense and stuff. So I wasn't scoring nearly as many goals at all like I was in club and high school. So to finally have that moment and to share it with this team and have it my senior year I'll never forget that moment. Is probably one of the very top moments I've ever had in my career as a soccer player. Just what that meant to be surrounded by my family. One of my last games at Caniglia, and just, you hear your name on the intercom and you see your name flash across the screen. So all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes that people don't see, and then to have kind of a finishing product in a big game was really special. It was really cool, especially against Kansas City, like you said.
Brief interruption. We are looking for advertisers for the State Soccer Network website and the app. You can advertised to over 2,000 daily users on statesoccernetwork.com and the SSN app. Plans start at $30 a month, but mention our show in the email and you will get 1 month of that free. Contact statesoccernetwork@gmail.com for more information. And back to the show. Right. I know how big a deal it is when we make that out to be the storyline in sports. Like, right, he's going back home or she's going back home. And and it's such a big deal when it's a game, and yeah, it matters, but there is that certain little element of it's Kansas City, or it's whoever for anyone. But I want to ask kind of an inside baseball, so I guess it's kind of inside soccer question. I played forward in high school, and I know I was literally half the field unless we were defending a lead, which was rare because we were terrible. You going from playing up top in high school to more of a box-to-box role in college, how tough was that to maintain kind of the stamina? Because, I mean, you're not running up and down all the time in high school, and you're having to play, one, at a higher level, and two, you're running and you're moving around a lot more. How did you handle that from a conditioning standpoint? Yeah,
I played outside mid most of my high school career, and then when I was actually at like club career, and then when I was at high school, I played center mid or like forward. So I kind of got to float and do my own thing a little bit. But for my high school club career, when I played outside mid, it was expected that, we got up and back. But we had a 4-4-2, so we had a defender behind us. But we had gone to a 4-3-3 in college. So I was kind of that outside mid forward position. So the expectation was, we want you guys to stay higher up the field so we can produce more goals and offense. But that means if we're in trouble, you're that outside person that's got to get all the way. And you come from a situation in club and high school, you think you're pretty fit. You're like, yeah, I'm good. We run at practice, and I'd ran every single summer coming into college. I do our running things, and you get a fitness test and you're like, I swear I was running. I promise. I swear I was running. And then you get to your first games in August and it's just different. Like everybody is at that level. It's not like, you'd go to high school after club season and like you could tell who was playing club at a high level because you're like, oh, they're running circles. Like they're not tired. Where everybody in club or in college is, fit as you, if not much, much fitter. So that was something I definitely had to work on. My coach to this day will probably tell you is like Avarie's fitness, like that was one thing that she had to continue to work on. But then again, I'm in a position where like you had to be, and I probably was pretty fit compared to some girls on our team, but the position that we always had my whole life, like you're expected to do more when it comes to actual running. So yeah, if you think you're running a lot, just do a little bit more.
Yeah. No, soccer is not for the faint of heart. I want to ask kind of this is off script for me. I want to ask kind of a structural question, more of a tactical question.
Yeah.
You said you went from 4-4-2 to 4-3-3 from high school to college.
Yeah.
Now this is for people who are playing soccer. They understand that, and they understand the formations and things. To be able to switch and to be able to have that in your mind, to be able to go from 4-4-2 and have this style of which you've learned how to play and that you're comfortable playing, to be able to adjust it a little bit. How tough was that for you transitioning from high school to college, just tactically, and how do you fit in that formation?
I'm really grateful that I had a really good club high school coach because we would mix in a few depending on the opponent we were playing or if we were doing well or not so well. So really thankful that when I got to college, hearing some different formations wasn't like a foreign language to me. I personally really became comfortable with the 4-3-3 at school because we had worked on it so much when we had that extra COVID season. We had like the spring off season and then the fall off season. So our team had become really comfortable figuring out where our run should go. Our press was the biggest difference that changes when you go to a 4-4-2 to a 4-3-3. You work really hard as a forward or outside mid in a press situation because if you don't do it right, the people behind you are stuck, and then there's a lot of pressure on your defense. So there was a lot of defensive work that went into the changes between a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3. But I like the three up top because we were able to stay a little bit higher. And I felt like I became more comfortable with it. Like I said, just because I got to know my runs, when I should check, that their center forward is going to be checking in behind me, things that, like you said, people that are soccer players will understand me saying those things. But the press, our defensive shape was definitely the thing we had to work on the most when it came to changing our formations. Kudos to my coach though, because every single week we would go over some of those changes or things that needed to be fixed on film. But like I said, I was really thankful that I came from a really good club coach that had taught us multiple different formations and what everybody's role was when it changes.
Nothing makes me happier than talking about tactics. Like to find someone who can talk about tactics, because like a lot of soccer people who like talk about soccer on television that I found out and talk about soccer on the radio and podcasts, they don't know anything about how tactics work. And it's really incredible to me that people don't know how it works that cover the sport.
Yeah. College soccer no, sorry, go ahead.
No, you played and you understand how it works. I played a very like small high school level, but I've studied the game and I've thought it would be imperative to my job that I know how it works and to figure out how many television hosts that love soccer and watch soccer and cover soccer and work in soccer have no idea what's going on. It's really interesting to me. So it makes me incredibly happy to be able to talk about tactics with a player who played on such a high level.
Well, like playing college soccer has made me like I played it for so long, and then these past 4 years have made like when I watch a game now, I'm like, oh, they should have pressed there. Like, oh, they should have gone to their inside shoulder. Like little things I'm like, I would have never paid attention to earlier, which it's made me love the sport even more, especially now being done. Like I watch games, I'm like, oh, that was a good press, or oh, that was a really good run. Like, oh, they shouldn't have played that ball because someone was tucking in, there was cover. Like things that were been like way over my head like 4 years ago that now like I can't not see, which I think is kind of cool because the college game has definitely advanced my soccer knowledge, or just like you said, tactics. Like I love watching the tactical side of things now, which if you would have told me 4 years ago, I'd been like, no, let's just play soccer, And now I'm like, no, like this piece has to go here and this has to go here, which is fun to talk. I like talking it too.
Well, I don't want to go crazy with it. Like watching MLS Cup between Portland and New York. I'm like, oh, they should have did this. I'm like,
Yeah.
those guys get paid a lot of money to make
Yeah.
decisions. And
Yeah.
Giovanni Savarese is a great coach. I'm not gonna undermine what he's doing on the field
Yeah.
on a cold, rainy Saturday afternoon in Portland,
Right.
but nevertheless. One last interruption before we finish the show. Finishing Touch is now looking for sponsors. We have 3 ad spots, as you saw today, and 100,000 views the first 8 episodes of this show. It's only going to get bigger. We thank you so much for the hot start that we've had, and we want to advertise your company in one of those 3 spots. Contact statesoccer@gmail.com for more information, and please enjoy the end of the show. Avery, thank you so much for the time. I have one more thing, and I'll let you get out of here. Some general advice. You already gave us some great tidbits earlier, but maybe from like a technical standpoint, going from high school to college and being able to play club while you're in high school, what are some things that you had to immediately get better at to be able to play on that next level of college?
Yeah. One of those things is defending as a forward or an outside mid position. Knowing your positioning in a press, like I'd mentioned, knowing the small details. These are things you'll probably learn like when you get to your freshman year, based on how your coach wants you to play. But for me, it was one thing was defending inside out. So that means being tucked in as an outside mid position instead of having like a center back split me and go straight to their center forward or their center midfielder. Little things like that, like just tweaking the way that you play. It's nothing, usually groundbreaking. It's just little details. I always like to juggle when I was in high school and club, and it resulted in me having a really good touch. And I will say that's something that to this day, most college coaches will look for in a player before they see anything else. They can tell players technicality or focus to detail or attention to detail by their first touch. If, they can tell they've spent time on the ball. Just sometimes decision-making, having confidence going forward, like knowing when to continue to go inline and get a good cross versus just crossing it right when you get it, seeing who's in the box. I think a lot of the things you're just kind of turning your brain on a bit more to think more critically about the game, which can be hard because I think from a situation, like I said earlier, when you're just the best player on the field, you kind of have that freedom to do whatever you want a little bit. And especially a high school situation, not so much club, but high school. There's definitely more of a system of play in college. So I'd say really just hone in on what your coach's advice is, because if you're coachable and listen to the advice that they give you in film or just, usually they're stayed consistent throughout every single year. So there was a lot of times where I think my junior, senior year, we kind of knew what coach was going to say in a drill before he even said it, especially to our freshmen or sophomores, because you've been around for so long. So just take those to heart, honestly, and just do them before he has to get to them because it'll stand out. But I would just say thinking critically a little bit more about your position when it comes to maybe you're a forward, but your only job isn't just to score goals. It has to be you positioning on the field or just making sure you're fit or staying a few extra reps to take some more shots, different kinds of shots, not just blasting the ball at the back of the net. So just being I would just say attention to detail in your position specifically. And I think most players will know when they get to college, the game changes a little bit. You've got to think a little bit tougher about the game. So just be coachable and have an open mindset for sure. That I think those would be some of my biggest points for sure.
Well, Avery, I'm so thankful that you made the time for us. I'm so happy that you're, of all people in the entire world, there's 4 billion women in the world, and you are our first woman to come on the show. I know how much of an advocate you are for women in sports and women in media. So to kind of combine those two things together, I couldn't be more grateful that you made time for us. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be on the show. And I love talking soccer, obviously, and any opportunity to talk about women in sports for sure. So once again, what an honor. Can't believe I'm the first woman on here to talk some sports, but hope we can chat soon. I'm glad everything in this interview, this went smoothly. Third time was hard.
Yeah. Third time was the charm indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Avery. Hopefully we can get you back on the show, and good luck with finishing out your degree and everything you got going for you in the broadcasting industry. I can't wait to work with you eventually one day.
Yeah.
That's a goal to be able to work with someone like you. So thank you so much for the time, and hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
Hi, thank you so much for watching the show. We really do appreciate it here at the State Soccer Network. We also have some socials for you to check out: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at State Soccer Network. And at the State Soccer Network, we also have a website, statesoccernetwork.com, as you can see right there. It's available in the show description with a direct link. to find out how to sign up your local high school soccer team and contests and events to win prizes. We also have an iOS app available in the App Store. Thank you so much for watching the things that we make. It really does mean a lot. And remember, the State Soccer Network, a place where you can become the next great American talent.